January in Montpellier, France. I arrived at my Airbnb rental after a long day of traveling. The photos online made the private studio look charming and cozy. Plus, the price was decent. It was too good to be true. From the moment I arrived, everything went downhill. My host, Mark, was supposed to meet me at the front door, but I waited an hour in the freezing cold. When he finally appeared, he reeked of alcohol. His breath hit me like a wall of fog. Mark mumbled apologies about being late, but he was too drunk for me to understand most of what he was saying. He did seem genuinely sorry, though. And after calming down a bit, he led me to my unit. That's when I noticed the red stains on his white shirt. They looked like dried blood. But maybe it was just wine, I told myself. So I brushed it off and followed him inside. There were 3 doors in total. The middle one was my unit. Mark opened it, gesturing for me to enter. But when I stepped inside, I realized it was barely a room. There were 2 mismatched armchairs, a single mattress on the floor, and a small TV hanging crookedly on the wall. All of the power outlets had been removed, leaving gaping holes in the walls. There was also a bathroom with a sink and shower, but the toilet was in another room down a narrow hallway. The whole place felt like a cheap motel, except much, much darker. But I didn't want to make a fuss. So I shrugged and tried to make the best of it. I asked Mark about the power outlets, and he said they were turned off for the night. Since it was nearly midnight, I thought it best not to press the issue. I quickly got into bed and tried to read, but it was too dark. I couldn't make out the words. I wanted to get some sleep before my morning tour of Montpellier. But moments later, footsteps started pounding above my head. At first, I assumed it was just noise from the people living upstairs. But then I heard a knock. 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 The sound came from the connecting door. I sat, frozen on the bed as the footsteps approached. The next thing I knew, the doorknob turned. "Sorry to bother you," said a voice slurring its words. It was Mark. "I think I left my phone in here. Would you mind if I look around?" He didn't wait for me to answer. He stepped inside and began rummaging through the cupboards. His flashlight beam sliced through the darkness, revealing the terrifying truth. In the corner were 2 identical chairs with thick ropes tied tightly around their arms. The knots were made to restrain people. I stared in disbelief as he continued to fumble around the room, humming a tuneless song. He didn't seem to notice the chairs at all. After what felt like hours, he finally left. I quickly got dressed and called my brother. It took him a few minutes to answer. "I need you to come over as fast as you can," I whispered urgently. "I don't feel safe here. This place gives me the creeps. Here's the address." I hung up and watched as he drove toward me. Minutes later, he burst through the door. "What the hell? Why did you call me?" he shouted. "This place looks creepy. Are you sure you wanted to stay here?" I shook my head, tears streaming down my face. "Let's get out of here." We sprinted to the car. I didn't even bother to grab my bag. I needed to get away from that house and those evil chairs, sitting in the safety of my own home now. I still wonder what would have happened if I hadn't escaped. What were those ropes for? And why did Mark act so strangely? The worst part is, looking back, there were warning signs everywhere. Right there in plain sight. But I was too trusting. I should have listened to my gut instincts. But thankfully, I got out of that nightmare okay. The scariest part is that other people are still renting that house. I hope they're more careful than I was. Next time I travel, I'm booking a hotel, no matter the price.